Hello everyone, Stephanie Davis here today. Thanks so much for joining me. Today I'm sharing a card that I made using the Concord 9th Wonderful Floral stamp set, as well as the dies. And I love the stamp set. I think it's so beautiful, and even though we're still right in the middle of our great big move across America, I couldn't wait to use this. So I'm going to use my embossing buddy, and I'm going to ink up the stamp using some Versamark ink, and I'm going to use my Misty so I can press down really hard in the middle and make sure and get a really good stamped image. And then I'm going to coat this with gold embossing powder because you guys know I love some gold. I think there's nothing more beautiful than gold embossed flowers. So I'm going to use my heat gun now, and I'm going to heat set this, and I just use small circular motions. I don't think it really makes a difference, but that's just always what I tend to do, probably because I'm just a busy mom and I'm always impatient. So I'm going to make sure and go through and get all of that, it kind of turns from a dull color to a shiny color when it's finished. So Arteza was kind enough to send these to me and ask me to do a review, and of course I'm always going to be honest and let you guys know what I think of them. So I'm going to be trying these out for the first time, and they have a disclaimer on the back to make sure and contact them if you did have any problems with them. So I'm first going to show you what they are like compared to the Zig Clean Color Real Brush Markers, which I call Ziggies. And they have a similar nylon brush tip. The Arteza one is a little wider, and it still has a fine point. Doesn't quite get as into the small areas as well as a Zig, but it does have a fine point to get in there pretty good. They have some really nice colors, and I really liked all the greens, and I also liked that they had a gray. And so I did notice it was missing an aqua, and you guys know I love aqua, so I had to make that first thing. So I'm using kind of a phthalo green shade as well as a medium blue shade and a brush pen to mix them, and they did mix pretty well here on this Bristol Smooth cardstock. But I do think, even with Ziggies, I think they mix better if you just mix them ahead of time on an acrylic block, and so that's often what I'll do. I'll kind of lay down some color and then mix it with a brush pen, and then you get a really, really good blend. So when I was making this card, I actually didn't have a whole lot of crafty mojo. I knew I wanted a little bit of a pink or purple color, and I also knew I wanted to use aqua, and other than that I really didn't know what I was going to do with this card. I just was trying to get some crafty mojo back, and it's very cold and gray here, which always seems to zap my crafty mojo. I'm curious if everyone else is that way or if it's just me. But I find when I don't have any crafty mojo, if I just color, it seems to kind of bring it back sometimes. So that's really what I intended to do here. I also could not wait to try out these markers because I was really hoping they were going to be a dupe for the Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers. So I thought I would just go ahead and color, and you guys can watch me color, and I will give you the review of what I think of these markers. So when I started coloring these, I noticed I really did like the fact that they have a wider and longer nylon brush nib, because it's going to make it easier when you do large areas, like when you do a background or something like that. I also really like the fact that you can mix and match the colors, and they really do blend beautifully, and you can really make double the colors that you're given in each pack because you can mix and match them so well. So I also like that there are always great coupons available, and I have some linked below. Right now, I think it's for today only, I have a 25% off coupon that you can use, making these even more affordable. I like that they reactivate well, just like your Ziggies do, and so you can go back and take color away, as you'll see me do that at the end. And they have a really nice feel. They don't feel cheapy, and I was half expecting them to be, to kind of feel cheapy, to be honest. Now, after I was finished making this card, I did go back and play with them more so I could give a more honest and accurate review. And so I did play with different kinds of paper, and I'm using Bristol Smooth cardstock for this card because that, I find with my Ziggies, that's what I always got the best blend. But I have to say, I tried these on some watercolor paper, both Canson and some Arches paper, and I got some really beautiful blends, especially using some different colors that I don't normally use, like the reds and the orange. I tried to use all the colors in this pack so I could try them all out, and I really got some gorgeous blends. And so it was a lot of fun, and what I enjoyed most about these markers is that they did have some beautiful colors and some shades I didn't already have. So for being such an affordable product, I was thoroughly enjoying that. Now, I've seen there's a bunch of reviews on this product, and honestly, I have not watched any of them because I didn't want any of them to influence my opinion. And so I need to be able to sleep at night, so now here's the cons. My biggest complaint about these is there's no way to identify the color name, and I noticed that when I first pulled them out of the package when they sent them a few months ago. I thought that was odd, and I don't know, that's why I can't really walk you through this card, because I would just have to make up random names, like I used a phthalo green shade, I used a medium blue shade, and I'm not about to go label them myself or anything like that. Now for personal use, that's not going to really matter to you guys. They do give a generous tip size. You can see the color. It's not exactly perfect, but it's, you know, pretty close. You can tell what you're getting. So for personal use, that's not a big problem, but for me, that was disappointing. The biggest thing is for these products, if you don't use a coupon code, I don't think the value is there for the quality. But if you're using a coupon code, don't get me wrong, you can have a lot of fun with these. You're going to see some beautiful, amazing products done with these because they're nice. But these are not a dupe for Ziggy's like I was hoping they would be. The quality is just not there. I did run into a little bit of problem with one of the markers, and it just stopped coloring. Now they do have information on the back saying to contact them. I don't really like to do that. So I'm very grateful and I'm very appreciative that they sent them to me. These are really what got me out of my crafty mojo slump. But if you don't use a coupon code, I think I couldn't really recommend these. But certainly don't go pay $39.99 at some other shops for these. I think you would be thoroughly disappointed when you can get Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers instead. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm still going to use these and I'm still going to enjoy them because they do have some beautiful colors, but I will just use them. And actually, I've been wanting to start a new series to use more affordable products for you guys, because I know that a lot of you might be just young moms that have little kids in diapers still and you can't afford very expensive products. And that's what this product is great for. And that was the good thing about Arteza, is they really are all about keeping art affordable for everyone. So I really appreciate that from them. So it's really nice to have products like this in the market that everyone can afford and everyone can use. So now back to the card. So I go on continuing blending with my aqua pen, and it's really easy to blend either ahead of time on the acrylic block. I found the easiest to get the most smooth, consistent color. But I also many times went in directly with the Real Brush pen right on the paper, and just because I really didn't want them to look the same. I really like them to look a little different, and I didn't want each one, I wanted each one to be a little unique. So I did add more green in this one, but then I go back later and add more green to the other one as well. And I never finish one image at a time, it seems like. I just kind of jump all over the place, and most of the time when I'm making cards, I really forget that I'm filming, and so I'm just playing. And I like to see what else I can do, and I like to see what works better, and so that's why I never do the same thing usually. So now I'm coloring and I'm trying to get some deeper shading in, and that's when I do go ahead and go directly with the Real Brush pen, is when I want some more shading. And for these little brushes, I'm going to use the orange and yellow, and sorry I'm out of frame just a little bit, but I fix it. So you can easily go in and use aqua pen and blend it out, as well as add more shadows. So I just go around and smooth all of the colors out, and it really blends the two colors well. And then you're going to see in a minute I do make a mistake, and I usually leave my mistakes in because I figure if I make the mistake, then I can show you how I fix it. I don't want to act like I do everything perfect all the time. I certainly do not. So I go out of the lines, but then I just use my aqua pen, and I literally just erase it with that aqua pen. And with the Bristol Smooth, it does give you more room for air, so that's another reason I like it. But it seems to have like a slight coating, and so it doesn't absorb right away, so it's a little more forgiving, I find. So now I'm going to go ahead and color all the leaves, and I'm using the lightest green shade first, and then I blend it out. And I really didn't know how bright, I kind of wanted a bright green, but I wind up mixing these two greens. And this is where I wish I would have went and colored on my block to get easier blend. It didn't want to blend quite as well. I initially wanted a lot of shading, and so I wanted it deeper, but then I went back and tried to blend most of it out actually. So, but I think a little bit might have been too, I was trying to rush because my husband and 3 kids were here, and I had put carnitas in the crock pot that day, and for my carnitas, I cook them in the crock pot all day, and then I take it out and I shred it and I fry them, and it makes them so delicious. They're as good as you could get it at a restaurant. And the smell at this time, about now, was summoning everybody to the kitchen. So everyone kept coming in and grabbing the crock pot lid, lifting it up, taking a bite, and I would get random looks from my husband like, oh no, how long am I going to have to wait to get fed? So I might have been rushing just a tad, and that is one thing when we get in the new house. I'll be so glad to be able to do everything during the day and when everyone's gone, and feel like I can finish and not holding everyone hostage for dinner. So I keep going on and coloring everything, and then now I'm going to go back with the orange, and I don't know if it's because I was making it and trying to hurry, but I kept missing spots, and so I would just go back and color in all the spots that I missed, and no rhyme or reason, I just kept going and playing. And then I would blend them out with the water pen. And then for these little berries, I used a really light, I used the lightest yellow shade, and I felt it was a little too bright. It almost had a green tinge to it. So I did go in with the medium yellow afterwards, and I just didn't feel like this yellow fit with those other colors. So, but I did want to add some yellow, and I thought it turned out really pretty once I added the medium tone, and it blended really well together with the aqua. And then I go in with the phthalo green shade, and I do want to make that a little bit more green, but I don't want to blend it out too much because I actually wanted the blue and green kind of to be separate. I just thought it looked really cool that way, only because I love turquoise, and with any other color I don't think it would like that, but I really like the way that looked. Now I'm going to go ahead and die cut all my images. So I'm using the Gemini Junior, which I absolutely love. I did leave and bring this with me because I couldn't, once I used it, I couldn't leave it behind. But I love the instructions, so please ignore my cutting sandwiches. And I do think if you do receive this, I think you should play around with the sandwiches because this machine has so much power that I don't know if you need all the shims that it tells you to use anyway. So, but what I wind up doing is I oftentimes just build my sandwich upside down and then I flip it over because for some reason it's hard for me to want to do it with the die cut side up. So I just build it upside down and then flip it over, if that makes sense. So, but please ignore my sandwiches. Find somebody that's showing you how to do it and build your sandwich how they tell you to. I'm just doing it what works for me. So I'm carefully removing the washi tape because I don't want to take any of that color away. And then I'm going to wind up lining this up, and I use a paintbrush to kind of get it in place because I'm going to emboss. I'm not going to cut. It winds up kind of cutting a little bit because it's just so powerful, but I'm actually using the embossing mat to emboss the words into the black cardstock because I just thought it would look a little better than just black cardstock plain back there. Now off camera I did use a little bit of craft foam to pop the floral images up. I just thought it looked prettier with popped up a little bit. And you'll notice in the finished card that there's one like little bit that's showing, and so I did have to remove that off too afterwards. And now I'm taking the little scraps of the sentiment and I'm adding the D and the O and the R, the inside parts, and I think the gold looks so pretty I wouldn't want to throw that away. So I apologize that I got a little bit out of frame here, but I'm just taking some Nina Desert Storm cardstock to add some color back behind the floral cut image. And you can see when I'm adding my adhesive that this is embossed so deeply it actually cut some of it. So I just used the end of the paintbrush to smooth it back down without leaving any indentations, and it worked really well. And so I'm just trying to make sure everything's glued down and attached properly. And then I find a few more spots where forgot to color, and here I'm removing some of the color, and I love that you can do this. You can go back and actually lift some of the color away and blend it. And oftentimes after I make a card, I'll go back the next day and do this because I'll think, oh, it's going to look a little better if I blend just a little bit more out. And I really did think it added a little bit more of a highlight, and I thought it looked much better. So I love the fact that this reactivates, but it does also mean you have to be a little more careful, because if like it's humid and your hands are a little wet or something, you can smear it. So be careful with that. So I hope you enjoyed this card, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.